I pulled up to the lake house with a trunk full of food, drinks, and gifts, thinking I was about to walk into a warm family reunion I spent months organizing and thousands of dollars funding. The gravel crunched beneath my boots as I stepped out. A couple of balloons still danced on the porch railing, limp and half deflated, like they were ashamed to still be there. But the house was dead silent. I opened the door. Empty. No kids screaming. No uncles telling the same dumb stories. No smell of food. Just silence and the faint echo of betrayal I didn't understand yet. I called out, "Melissa." Nothing. I checked my phone. No missed calls. No texts. Just the confirmation email for the cabin I booked 6 months ago with the title, Family Reunion, July 21st to 23rd. It was July 22nd. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes trying to make sense of it, before the back door creaked open and Melissa walked in, sunglasses on, holding an iced coffee like she just came from ing spa. "Oh," she said, looking at me like I was an unexpected Uber Eats delivery. "You're here. Where's everyone?" She smirked. That crooked smirk she used to flash at me in bed when she wanted to play innocent after doing something dirty. It was yesterday. My stomach dropped. Yesterday. She sipped her drink slowly, like she was savoring my confusion. "Yeah, I told you. Remember? We moved it up a day." "No, you didn't." She shrugged. "Well, we figured you wouldn't mind. We saved you some leftovers." Leftovers. Before I could respond, her mother strolled in behind her, fixing her tacky floral dress like she was coming back from church. She looked at me like I was dog hair on her coat. "After all," she said with that cold southern charm she always used to mask her bitterness, "you're not really family, are you?" I didn't speak. I didn't blink. I just stared at both of them. Something shifted inside me. A quiet explosion. I didn't yell. Didn't storm out. I simply nodded once, walked back to my car, and drove back to the cheap motel 10 miles out where I'd booked a backup room, just in case. I didn't even know why I booked it. Maybe I felt something was off from the beginning. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark with the AC humming and my fists clenched, scrolling through our family group chat. Nothing from Melissa to me in 2 days. Pictures from the reunion. My daughter Katie with her cousin. My father-in-law grilling. My brother-in-law Jared playing guitar. And Melissa, sitting way too close to Jared in more than one picture. In one shot, her hand was on his thigh. Not in a playful, innocent way. In a way that would have ended in screaming if I'd been there to see it in person. I felt the air leave my lungs. My own wife. With her sister's husband. And not one of those scumbags at that reunion said a word. Not even her father. Not even her sister. They all smiled for the camera like it was normal. I should have seen it sooner. The late-night phone calls. The sudden business trips. The way she started turning her phone screen down when it buzzed. I asked her once if something was going on. She laughed. Said I was insecure. Said I needed therapy. She was right about one thing. I did need help, but not the kind she meant. The next morning, someone knocked on my motel door. 3 police officers. I let them in. I didn't flinch. They asked if I was Ryan Carter. I said yes. They told me someone made a report. What kind of report? I asked. Your wife called. Said you threatened her. I didn't react. Just stared past them at the wall behind. I didn't say a word to her, I said. Not one. One of the officers looked at me differently then. That's what she said. That you sent her a message saying you'd burn the house down. I shook my head. She's lying. They didn't arrest me. They didn't find anything. But they did give me a warning. If you go near that lake house, we'll have to detain you. I nodded again, just like before. And right there in that motel room, I decided something. If words weren't enough to make my voice heard in this twisted family circus, maybe actions would be. I didn't know what yet, but something was coming, and it wouldn't be leftovers. I sat in that cheap motel chair for hours, barely breathing, barely blinking, just thinking. My fingers hovered over my phone more than once. I almost called her. Almost called Jared. Almost called Katie. But what was I supposed to say? Hey, how was the reunion I wasn't invited to? Hope the barbecue was good while my wife was rubbing thighs with her brother-in-law. No, that wasn't how I played this. Instead, I started digging. I scrolled back through our shared photo albums, cloud storage, even old email confirmations. Melissa hadn't just forgotten to invite me, she actively changed the date on the calendar she shared with me. A clean, perfect edit. She even replaced my RSVP email with one of her own. This wasn't a mistake. She planned it. She didn't want me there. I thought back to the time she'd been distant over the past few months. The way she flinched when I touched her. The mechanical way she said, "Love you too," with her face turned away. The sudden gym membership. The way she started wearing that perfume I told her smelled like a nightclub bathroom. She used to hate it. I remember the day I came home early from work and saw her on the back porch, whispering on the phone, laughing. When she saw me, she said it was her sister. I believed her. I remember the night I walked into the bedroom and she jumped, throwing her phone under the pillow. Said she was watching TikToks. She was watching something, all right. But it wasn't TikToks. My mind was a battlefield of memories and anger. Every kind moment she gave me now felt like a knife in the back. Every kiss, a setup. Every compliment, a distraction. The hardest part? I didn't just lose a wife. I lost a whole damn family. Katie, her mother, her father, her cousins. People I bought gifts for, cooked for, made space for in my life. People I would have taken a bullet for. All of them stood there, smiling in pictures while my place was quietly erased. That kind of betrayal hits different. It doesn't shout. It whispers. At 3:14 a.m., I made a decision. I drove to the lake house. Not to yell. Not to hit. Just to see. Just to prove to myself that what I suspected was real. The porch light was still on. There was a car in the driveway. Jared's. I parked a block away and walked through the trees like a damn ghost. I moved around the house, careful, quiet, heart pounding. There was a flicker of light in the upstairs bedroom. Curtains half drawn. I stepped closer. And I saw them. Melissa was in that short gray robe she never wore for me anymore. Hair down. Laughing. Sitting on the edge of the bed. And Jared? He walked out of the bathroom shirtless, holding 2 glasses of wine like this was some honeymoon. I stared at them for 10 seconds. They kissed. She leaned back, pulled him by the waistband of his shorts, and whispered something in his ear that made him smirk like the bastard he is. My stomach turned. And then I stepped back into the shadows, pulled out my phone, and recorded 30 seconds of it. Not for revenge. For proof. I walked back to the car numb. Not angry. Not broken. Just clear. Everything clicked. The fake smiles. The sudden fights. The gaslighting. The whispering behind doors. The trips. The late nights. She was cheating. And they all knew. Her sister? Knew. Her mom? Definitely knew. And her dad? He probably didn't care. I drove back to the motel, uploaded the video to a hidden cloud folder, and started making a list. A real one. Account passwords. Bank access. Insurance policies. Divorce lawyer names. I'd already made the biggest mistake of my life marrying her. I wasn't about to make another by losing everything when it burned. By sunrise, I was at the courthouse parking lot, waiting for it to open. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just waited. Because now it was my turn. And they were going to feel every second of it. Melissa didn't even realize I'd been to the house that night. She didn't text. Didn't call. Nothing. Like I was a ghost now. Like she could just delete me from her life like an old contact in her phone. But ghosts? Ghosts don't go away quietly. I had a plan. First, I visited a lawyer named Charles Whitman, divorce attorney, sharp as hell, the kind of guy who probably smiled at shark documentaries. I handed him the recording. I told him about the reunion. I didn't need to say much more. He leaned back in his chair, whistled low, and said, "This is going to be fun." We got to work fast. Melissa didn't know, but our joint accounts? I was already making moves. Not stealing. Just protecting. I froze anything with both our names, moved my paychecks into a separate account, locked the credit cards. Charles said, "You'll need to be one step ahead. Trust me, a woman like that? She'll drain you dry the second she smells freedom." She didn't just want to be free. She wanted me erased. The next few days, I played it smart. Kept my head down. Acted normal. Even called Melissa once, just to keep up the image. She answered with a fake yawn, told me she was at yoga. I could hear Jared's voice in the background. My jaw locked, but I played dumb. "Miss you," I said. "Yeah," she replied, then hung up like it physically hurt her to pretend. Meanwhile, I started gathering every little thing she'd left behind in our shared life, emails, texts, receipts. I went through our home security cloud and found multiple nights she came in at 3 a.m. even though she swore she was staying with her mom. Her mom lived 40 minutes away. Unless she was teleporting, that timeline didn't work. But the thing that really broke me was Katie, my daughter. My sweet, observant, too smart for her age daughter. She FaceTimed me one night from her bedroom. "Daddy," she said, voice low, eyes flicking toward the door. "Mom said you didn't want to come to the reunion." My throat clenched. She said, "What?" She said you were busy and mad at everyone. But that didn't sound like you. I had to bite my lip to stop from losing it right there. She paused. Uncle Jared's been here a lot. I saw him kiss Mom. Is that bad? It took everything in me not to scream, not to cry, not to drive over and burn that house to the ground. Instead, I looked into my daughter's innocent face and said, "You're smart, baby. And you're brave. Just keep being you. I'll see you soon." I ended the call, threw the phone across the bed, sat there shaking. That was it. Melissa could cheat on me, lie to me, humiliate me. But dragging our daughter into it? Brainwashing her with lies? That's when I knew this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was war. I filed for divorce that Friday, had the papers served to her office. Not her house. Her office. In front of her coworkers. In front of her new manager. I heard she ran out crying. I hoped she slipped on her crocodile tears. That evening, she called me for the first time in days. "Are you insane?" she shrieked the moment I picked up. "No," I said calmly. "Just done. You blindsided me." "Oh, like how you blindsided me with an empty reunion and some damn leftovers?" Silence. Then she hissed, "You've ruined everything." "No, sweetheart. You ruined everything the moment you invited your sister's husband into our bed." I just finally opened my eyes. She stuttered something, then hung up. Later that night, Jared called me. He actually had the balls. "Look, man, I didn't mean for things to get this far." "Save it," I cut him off. "You knew what you were doing. You think I'm just gonna roll over and let you slide into my life? It's not like that." "No? Then what is it like? Stealing your niece's father? Destroying your own marriage and mine? You think Melissa won't do the same thing to you in a year?" He didn't respond. I hung up, let him stew in it. The next morning, Melissa came to my apartment. She stood outside the door for 20 minutes. I watched her through the peephole, arms crossed, eyes wide like a cornered animal. She knocked. I opened. She tried to push past me. I blocked her. "Let me explain," she said. "You had months." She looked tired, disheveled, makeup smudged. Not the smug queen from the lake house. "I messed up," she whispered. "You destroyed a family." Her eyes hardened. "Maybe if you'd been more of a man, I wouldn't have had to look somewhere else." I smiled and shut the door in her face. I didn't open the door again. She stood there, yelling something I couldn't even hear anymore, pounding with her fist like a spoiled teenager who got caught sneaking out. I leaned back against the door and just breathed. Deep, steady, cold. That was the first time I actually felt free. Later that night, I drove to my brother's place. Jason always told me she was no good. Said it with that older brother tone that always pissed me off, the one that sounded like, "I told you so," even when he was being nice. He opened the door, took one look at my face, and just said, "She did it, huh?" I nodded. He poured 2 bourbons and said nothing for a long time. We just sat, the silence doing more for me than any conversation ever could. Finally, he said, "You done with her?" I looked at him. I was done the second she told me I wasn't family. He winced. "She actually said that?" "No. Her mom did." Melissa just laughed. Jason shook his head. "Jesus. That's a different kind of evil." We stayed up till 2 a.m., going over everything. I told him about the lake house, the video, the cop visit. He was quiet most of the time, just taking it in. Then he stood up, grabbed his phone, and said, "Time for a little cleanup." I didn't even ask what he meant. I didn't care. I just nodded. Over the next week, things unraveled fast. Melissa's sister found out about the affair. Not from me. From one of her coworkers who had seen the video. Someone leaked it. Maybe Jason. Maybe Karma. She showed up at Melissa's job, slapped her across the face, and screamed, "You ruined my life, you piece of trash." The video made it to Facebook for about 6 minutes before it got pulled. But it was enough. Jared got kicked out of his house. Melissa got suspended from work. And me? I was eating a steak dinner at a rooftop restaurant with my daughter, who told me over mashed potatoes, "I'm glad it's just us." That hit hard. I smiled through it, but my chest felt like it cracked open. This little girl, 10 years old, smarter than all of us, had been caught in a storm none of us deserved. I owed her peace, so I gave it to her. I got a new apartment, near her school, painted her room pink like she wanted, hung fairy lights, bought that dumb lava lamp she always begged for. Every weekend she stayed with me. I made pancakes, we watched movies, we built Lego castles, and ate popcorn on the floor. She started smiling again, and I started sleeping again. But Melissa? She wasn't done. One morning, I got an email from her. The subject line was closure. Inside was a long, winding mess of words about how she was lost, how she'd never felt seen, how Jared was just a mistake born from loneliness. I didn't reply. 2 days later, she showed up outside my building again. I saw her from the window. She was wearing that same robe from the lake house like it meant something. Maybe it did to her. To me, it just looked pathetic. She stayed for an hour. I didn't go down. Eventually, she left. The next week, I got a package. Inside were pictures. Us. Old memories. Wedding day. Honeymoon. Katie as a baby. A note attached. I miss this. I miss you. I took one look, then threw it all in the trash. She missed a version of me that didn't exist anymore. A man who kept quiet. Who trusted blindly. Who forgave too easily. That man was dead. And the man who took his place? He wasn't going to be betrayed again. Not by her. Not by anyone. I thought that would be the end of it. The video was out, the divorce papers filed, the truth exposed like a wound that finally stopped bleeding. But people like Melissa don't fade quietly. No, she needed the last word. She needed control, even after she lost everything. The first attack came through our daughter. Katie was supposed to spend the weekend with me. Bags packed, all excited about some movie marathon we planned. But when I showed up at the door, Melissa stood in front of her like a bodyguard. "She's not going," she said flatly. Katie looked up at me, confused and already tearing up. "What are you doing, Melissa?" She crossed her arms. "Until the court finalizes custody, I have every right to keep her here. Since when do you care about rights? You didn't care about vows, or family, or respect. Don't push me, Ryan." Katie's lip trembled. "Mom." "Go to your room," Melissa snapped, and for the first time in her young life, Katie flinched like her own mother scared her. I clenched my fists. Stepped forward. "Don't you ever raise your voice at her like that again. You're not in charge anymore," Melissa hissed. "You're just a sad man with a camera and a grudge." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her she was a monster wrapped in lip gloss and gaslighting. But I didn't. I just looked at my daughter, mouthed, "I'll see you soon," and walked away. The next day, I filed for emergency custody. I brought every screenshot, every video, every inconsistency. And when the judge saw the way Melissa had exposed our daughter to her affair, the inappropriate hours Jared had spent in that home while she was present, and even the incident at the lake house, the look on his face was all I needed. "Until the divorce is finalized," he said, "primary custody is awarded to Mr. Carter." Melissa tried to argue, started with fake tears, then turned to rage. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. She called the system unfair, called me manipulative, called the judge biased. But none of it mattered. I walked out of that courtroom with my daughter's hand in mine. She didn't even look back at her mother. Back at home, Katie asked me, "Why did she lie so much?" I didn't know how to answer that. How do you explain betrayal to a child? How do you make sense of a mother who chooses destruction over decency? So I told her the truth. Some people are broken in ways we can't fix. But you? You're not broken. And I'll never let anyone hurt you like that again. She hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. But I didn't let go. I stood there in the middle of our tiny apartment, holding my daughter like a lifeline, because in that moment, she was. A few days later, Melissa tried again. Sent me a long text about how she was ready to co-parent peacefully, followed by a smiley face and a picture of her and Jared on a beach somewhere. The caption read, "Starting over. No more drama." I didn't respond. Let her live in that fantasy. Let her pretend she was winning. Because deep down, I knew people like her never find peace. They just bounce from thrill to thrill, burning bridges until they're standing alone on a pile of ashes. And I started over for real. Therapy. A better job. Weekend hikes with Katie. Nights that didn't end in silence and doubt. For the first time in years, I breathed easy. The weight was gone. Melissa had always said I was too soft, that I wasn't exciting enough. But peace, real peace, it doesn't need fireworks. Just truth. And space to heal. And I was finally there. Melissa didn't stop. Even after the judge handed me custody, even after her affair was public, even after her own sister stopped speaking to her, she kept clawing. Like a cornered animal that still thinks it can bite its way out. She started sending gifts to Katie. Big, expensive ones. A phone. A tablet. Designer shoes for a 10-year-old. I didn't stop the gifts at first. I thought maybe she was trying to reconnect in some twisted way. But then came the messages. On the tablet, I found a series of texts from Melissa to Katie. Don't believe everything your father says. I didn't do anything wrong. He's trying to turn you against me because he's jealous. It took everything in me not to explode. Not to drive over to that condo Jared rented for her and burn the place to the ground. But instead, I showed Katie the truth. The court order. The video. The timeline of events. I explained things gently, age-appropriate but honest. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just nodded slowly and said, "She's not the mom I thought she was." That hurt worse than anything Melissa ever did. I reported the manipulation to the court. Her visitation was suspended. Melissa retaliated by trashing me online, Facebook posts, Twitter rants, even some vague TikTok about being betrayed by a narcissist husband. The irony nearly choked me. Her mother messaged me a week later. I hadn't blocked her because I figured the old witch would eventually expose herself, and she did. "You always were too weak for my daughter," she wrote. "She needs a real man, not a crybaby who runs to lawyers every time a woman makes a mistake." I stared at that message for a full minute before replying. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary, not blowing up 2 families and lying to your daughter about it. Enjoy your bitter little legacy. Then I blocked her. Jason was right. Melissa came from poison. I should have seen it earlier. But love, real love, or what you think is real, makes you blind, stupid, willing to swallow garbage if it's wrapped in a pretty bow. But I wasn't blind anymore. I was watching everything now, with clear eyes, steady hands, and a heart that was still bruised but beating for the right reasons. There was one moment, about 3 weeks after the dust settled, when Katie and I went to a park. She was laughing, running, spinning with one of those bubble wands in the sunlight. For a second, she looked just like her mom at that age, same eyes, same smile. And something inside me cracked again. Not out of anger, not out of grief, but out of grief for what could have been. Melissa could have been the kind of mother our daughter needed. She could have loved honestly, chosen loyalty. She had every opportunity to grow with me, to build something unbreakable. But she chose chaos. She chose him. And now she had nothing but broken glass, Instagram quotes about self-love, and the empty silence of a house filled with lies. I don't know what kind of man Jared is when the cameras are off. But I know this. If he was spineless enough to cheat on his wife and betray his brother-in-law, he's spineless enough to crumble when Melissa turns on him. And she will turn on him. Because people like her don't stop destroying, they just find new targets. I tucked Katie into bed that night and kissed her forehead. She looked up at me and said, "I don't miss her anymore." I didn't know whether to feel relief or heartbreak. I whispered, "You're safe now. That's all that matters." And I meant it. Weeks passed, and the quiet became unfamiliar. There were no more surprise knocks, no more drama at the door, no more texts filled with venom or fake apologies. Just me, Katie, and the slow return of normalcy. But even in peace, the scars Melissa left didn't fade. They just stopped bleeding. Katie still asked questions sometimes. "Did Mom ever love you?" That one nearly knocked the wind out of me. I sat on the edge of her bed, brushed a curl from her forehead, and said the most honest thing I could. "I think she loved herself more." Katie didn't respond. She didn't have to. The silence in her eyes said she understood more than a child should ever have to. But she also had strength. That quiet kind that sneaks up on you. The kind I never gave myself credit for until I saw it in her. I started writing again. Nothing fancy, just journaling. Late nights at the kitchen table, bourbon in hand, ink bleeding into cheap paper. I wrote about everything. The betrayal, the lies, the fake smiles. The ache of watching your world collapse while your wife posts bikini selfies with your brother-in-law. I wrote about the anger, the kind that claws at your ribs at 3 a.m. and whispers revenge into your ear. And then I wrote about the clarity that followed. There's a strange kind of power in surviving something designed to break you. I didn't just survive Melissa. I watched her implode. The Jared chapter ended faster than I expected. According to Jason, who somehow always knows everything, Jared got fired from his company for violating the firm's conduct code. Turns out, screwing your wife's sister while pretending to be a family man doesn't play well with HR. Melissa posted some cryptic quote on Instagram the day after. "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time." Yeah, Melissa. We did. After that, she tried reaching out again. Blocked numbers. Burner emails. Even a damn letter in the mailbox, like this was the 1800s. The letter was drenched in perfume and half smeared with tears. She called me her anchor, said she was lost without me, that Jared was a mistake born out of loneliness, and she hoped I could find it in my heart to forgive her. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was pathetic. This woman who laughed in my face at the lake house, who let her mother spit on me in front of my own daughter, who watched her affair unfold in front of a child, and now she wanted grace? She'd burned the bridge, pissed on the ashes, then mailed me a note from the other side asking for help swimming back. I shredded the letter, threw it out with the trash. It belonged with the rest of the garbage from that part of my life. I wasn't angry anymore. That's what scared her the most. Because when a man stops being angry, that's when he's truly done. She lost the ability to hurt me, to twist the knife, to pull the strings. I took that power back. One evening, Katie and I sat on the couch watching old home videos. Her voice as a toddler, calling me Dada, made her giggle. We watched Melissa in one clip, holding Katie, smiling, looking every bit the perfect wife and mother. Katie looked up at me and asked, "Do you ever miss her?" I paused, looked at the screen, at the ghost of who Melissa pretended to be. "I miss who I thought she was," I said quietly. "But that person never really existed." Katie leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "I'm glad it's just us now." So was I. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt peace. Not the kind you fake with deep breaths and forced smiles. Real peace. Because I finally understood. You can love someone with your whole heart, and they can still tear you apart. But you can survive. And when you do, you come back stronger, smarter, wiser, and above all, free. A few months later, the divorce was finalized. It felt like the last page of a book I never wanted to write but needed to finish. I sat alone on my balcony that evening, whiskey glass sweating in my hand, the city humming quietly below. There were no fireworks, no celebration, just stillness and something close to relief. Melissa didn't show up to court, sent her lawyer instead. I expected that. Cowards rarely face the mess they create. The settlement was clean. I got the house. Full custody. She walked away with her clothes, her lies, and whatever hollow pride she still clung to. Katie and I didn't talk about it much. Kids have a way of processing pain differently. She just started drawing more, smiling more, sleeping through the night again. That told me everything I needed to know. One night, as I was cleaning up dinner, she asked if she could change her last name. "I don't want to be a Green anymore," she said. "That name doesn't feel like me." I blinked hard, looked at her. "You can be whatever you want, baby." We filed the papers the next day, and that's when it hit me. Melissa didn't just lose a marriage. She lost us. Not just me, she lost the version of herself that could have been a mother her daughter looked up to. She lost a family, a home, the quiet love that waits for you even when you don't deserve it. She lost it all because she wanted excitement, secrets, the thrill of sneaking around in the dark, thinking she was too smart to get caught. But the truth always finds its way to light. Always. And now? Now I wake up to silence that doesn't ache. I make pancakes on Sunday mornings. I walk Katie to school. I work late but come home to warmth, laughter, honesty. I rebuilt what she destroyed, brick by brick, breath by breath. And to anyone who's ever sat in that same silence, wondering if they'll ever feel whole again, let me tell you something. You will. It won't be easy. It won't be fast. But one day you'll look around and realize the pain isn't choking you anymore. The anger isn't dragging you down. The betrayal isn't the first thing on your mind when you wake up. You'll be free. You'll be stronger. And the ones who tried to break you? They'll still be trapped in the mess they made, searching for someone else to blame. Let them. You've got better things ahead.